Hi, I decided to make this video because I was having problems with my Commander Max 800. The brake lights were staying on. Initially, when I first bought it, I bought it used, but it was only a couple years old. But initially, the brake lights were fine. And then I put new brake pads on and new rotors on it, and that caused the brake lights to come on permanently. So essentially, all last season, nobody was knowing if I was stopping or not because the brake lights weren't working. I didn't want to pay to have a dealer work on it if I could do it myself. So I started researching what could possibly be wrong, and there really wasn't a lot out there on YouTube kind of showing me how to fix any of this. But I did do research, and I established that it was probably the brake pressure switch. And so I kind of started from there. I ordered the part. So you need to order the pressure switch and 2 copper washers. You don't need the 2 copper washers, but if you lose the 2 that are already on the old one, then you're kind of SOL. So might as well just order a couple more just in case. All said and done with shipping and everything, it was right at 50 bucks to get this job done. Order the part, and then I figured I'll make a YouTube video and put it out there, so if other people have a problem with their brake lights staying on, they'll know how to do this. It was a success, as you'll see in the video. The brakes now work. A couple things left. I don't know, do I need to bleed the brakes, or do I need to add any more fluid, because I did lose a little bit, but I'll find that out as I get it out and running. But for right now, mission accomplished. The brake lights now go off and on when you press the brake pedal. So hopefully this helps someone else. Not an expert. I just did this on a whim, and I figured I would film the process. That way, if it's successful, I could put it out there. So hopefully I help anybody else with the same problem. And took about an hour and 50 bucks. So why pay more and have a service place do it when you can do it yourself a lot cheaper? Thanks for watching. Okay, so good morning. I'm just using my phone. Hopefully this will be good enough, but I'm going to try to make a video on how to change the brake pressure switch for a Commander Max 800. I think it's the same on the 1000 also, but I haven't found any videos on YouTube how to do this, so I'm going to attempt to do it myself. I ordered the part. If I'm successful and I do actually upload this video, I'll put the part information that you would need for this. So right now, first thing is you need to either jack the four-wheeler up, or in my case it's still on its trailer. I'm going to attempt to do this on the trailer. As you can see, the first thing you need to do is on the driver's side, there's this plastic guard right here. There's 1 screw there, and then 2 screws back here. They're T25s, and then behind them are little nuts. So they look just like this. I did drop one of the nuts already. I'm sure it fell down somewhere in the framework, and I'll find it. If not, I'll do a replacement one. But that's the first step, is back those out. It looks to be like a little zip tie holding the brake line right here. I'm going to cut that off, and then I'll put a new zip tie on when I'm done. But just looking, I can see what appears to be the pressure switch there, so I'm assuming it's right back behind there where the brake fluid and stuff goes. So be right back. Okay, I've removed the cover that was right here, and once I took that off, you can see the master cylinder for the brakes, and then you can see where the brake pressure switch screws in right here, and it goes behind the control arm, I guess, and it comes out and plugs in right here. So it really just goes behind that and then screws into here. This is what the pressure switch looks like. I got this online. I gotta remember where I got it. I think it was right off the Can-Am parts store or something. It was 35 bucks. But that is a part that screws into the master cylinder and then just snaps up there. It appears that it might be zip tied to the other lines back there. What I'll probably do is just leave the old one on instead of trying to figure out where I don't want to undo all the zip ties that are on there. So I'll probably just undo the old one and probably just clip that off right there so that the plug-in's not hanging there anymore, and then clip it off after I unscrew it back there and just leave the old line in place, and then just put the new one in and then zip tie the new one to the existing line. But again, it should be as simple as screwing that into the master cylinder and then that plugging in. I also did get a couple extra washers too, because I was reading there's just copper washers that go in there. I was reading that you need to make sure, there's one more in the bag here too, but I was reading that you need to replace those or don't lose the ones that you have. But this should be all the parts I need. Again, so far all I've used was a T25 T25 socket, and I'll tell you, the hardest part is really just manipulating the nuts and bolts in there, just getting your reach in and getting the right length on the sockets and stuff. They're all a little bit different, but so far pretty easy. Okay, so I backed off the old line right there, and it goes through this piece right here. It goes in through here. So you need a copper washer. You need a copper washer. Where did I put the new one? So a copper washer goes right here onto this piece, and then it looks like a brake line. That right there, this is going to feed through that, and then you put another copper washer on, and then it'll screw back into the master cylinder. So something like this. I'm trying to hold the camera. Put the copper washer onto the new. Got a couple copper washers here. So you got a copper washer right there. It is then going to just a second here. Feed through that, just like so, and then I need to put the other copper washer on the end of this line right here, and then I'll screw it back in to that spot right there on the master cylinder. That right there. One second. Okay, so I've screwed it back in to the master cylinder. Like I say, there's a brake line that attaches right there. So your pressure switch goes through that hole and then into your master cylinder with a copper washer on each side of that. I've screwed it in, and then I just brought the plug around the back side, and it's going to replace where the old one is plugged in right now. So as I'm looking, it looks like it's just got a little clasp there to hold it in place. I'm just going to cut that notch instead of trying to messing and trying to get a screwdriver up here. I'm just going to probably cut it with the wire cutters just to break it off and then pull the old one off. I can't film that part and hold the phone at the same time. But then this is the old brake pressure switch. Once I unplug it from there, I'm probably just going to let it, I'll cut it off so it's not hanging all over and bouncing around, but otherwise I'm just going to leave it attached to the lines that it's zip tied to now, so I don't get those all undone also. And then I'll just zip tie the, once I plug the new one in, I'll zip tie it up. So let me get that done and see where we're at. Okay, so all I did, I just cut that right there with the pair of wire cutters, and now I got the New one plugged in. It wraps around the back. And then all I'm going to do is take the old one and cut it off so it's not hanging there. And then I'll come around the back end here, and there's the old piece. I'll just cut it also, just so it's not hanging there either. And then I'll zip tie the new one on there. This way I'm not undoing that old zip tie because I don't want any of these lines to come undone either. But I got it replaced. I do have to see how much brake fluid I lost, because it did drip some out onto my trailer. Not a whole lot. So the problem that made me do this was my brake lights were staying on all the time. And now I just need to see if that's going to change. Now that it's all hooked up. Okay, so now I need to put something in there and test the brake lights to see if they light up. Which I'll have to go get one of my children real quick. Alright, so lastly we can see that it is, I just want to make sure that no brake fluid is leaking, so I'm going to wipe that down, make sure nothing fresh is leaking. But I can see that I am between my min and max on my brake fluid, so for right now I am not going to add any fluid until I get it out and drive it for the first time and get on the brakes a few times. And then I'm not sure if you have to bleed them or not, so I'll figure that part out. But for right now the brake lights work, the switch is intact. I'll go ahead and zip tie it on back here in a second, and I'll put the plate back in place, and then that's a wrap. So hopefully that's all I gotta do. I don't want to necessarily put the plate back on and then have to add brake fluid, but I'll figure it out. Alright, so the tools needed for this job are a pair of snips to clip any zip ties that are on there, little 8mm wrench, a number 14, and then a T25 bit. And I used a couple different lengths to get in and out of there, but that is all the tools that you will need to complete this job.